Alright, so here's another update on, this is still turn 3 of On to Paris, and the reason it's still turn 3 is that I've had 2 tie rolls now on the command table use track. So I've had 2 instances where we re-roll on the command table and add more command points, so that's made it a very long turn. And the tie die rolls have not been the ones that end the turn. So one more tie and we start getting into the victory point penalty application. So we want to avoid that. But I did want to do another quick look here. And I'm recording this on my phone in 60 frames per second. So my regular camera that I use, it's a JVC Vario camera, only appears to record only in about 30 FPS. So I saw a video that Stuka Joe did where he did an unboxing of Devil's Horseman from the Great Battles of History series in 60 frames per second, and it looked kind of cool. So, and he was talking about doing that on his iPhone. And so I looked at my iPhone and realized, sure enough, you can record in 60 frames per second. So I thought I would do it here. I don't know how much difference it'll make since this is a pretty still video that I'm going to do. There's not going to be a lot of camera movement. I might be waving some tweezers around, but that's about it. I've got it on my little tripod on the table here. But what I wanted to show for this part of the turn is, before I had the Army of Alsace, the Army of the Rhine hold up here in Metz. And what it ended up doing as the first and second Prussian armies approached and kind of started to encircle it, was I thought, I could leave those guys there to get sieged and killed because these are 2 big armies. First army was pretty damaged and is not particularly big. I've been slowly reinforcing it. Second army, though, is pretty huge. I think it's the biggest. It's got the Kaiser with the army. So it's pretty big, although parts of it are over here sieging, what is this fortress here? Bitchy, whatever you want to call it. I'm not exactly sure what the actual pronunciation is, but part of the second army is there, along with the siege guns. The problem with the siege guns is both of them are currently tracing off of the same rail line. This rail line here at Forbach, I guess that would be the French pronunciation. This branches. So I've got the other siege gun here at Metz, and that's probably where I'm going to end up using it, because Metz is a bona fide fortress as opposed to just a fort over there. So for this siege, I'll probably utilize the siege guns there. But I did bring the siege guns up, moved them in. Once the Army of the Rhine evacuated Metz and moved back to Verdun, I moved the siege guns right into Metz and moved both armies in. So they've got enough strength points between them now to get what modifiers they need, I think, to speed along the siege of Metz. The problem is that under this monster stack, and I may have to take the Callendale approach and start moving my actual core markers onto the army cards themselves, just to eliminate giant stacks like this. But one of the problems is I couldn't move the French siege guns out, because I believe the siege guns can only move on a rail line. I should double check that, but I think they can only move on a rail line, and there's no rail line out of here that wasn't interdicted by a cavalry strength point. So I'm not playing with the optional rule that has this rail line here between Metz and Verdun completed, but I will say why the French didn't have a rail line between Metz and Verdun completed, I don't know. But they didn't historically. This is an optional thing saying, what if they did? Stuff going on over here. My French adventurism into Baden here proved to be fruitless. This is kind of just a supply cul-de-sac. There's nowhere to go. You have to punch your way out up here. And the problem is the Prussians just kept dropping corps in from the off-map box up here into Heidelberg, and funneling them down in. And so my 12th Corps got stranded here and then surrounded on the other side by the Prussian Corps that I'd moved down here and fought earlier to try and liberate Freiburg, which I'll liberate now. As you can see, the French have moved back across the Rhine, or whatever this is, because, again, there was nowhere to go here. They got the victory points they needed for Freiburg. The Prussians will take it back. I don't think those points go back on the board. They also damaged some Prussian corps. The Prussian first and second corps, were significantly depleted and demoralized in the fighting. But the French corps also took some damage, so I ended up having to take the Army of Alsace and crossing the river here to rescue the 12th Corps, which was pinned up here between the 1st and 2nd Corps. Came up from the south and landed there. 12th Corps was stuck there. These guys were here, so I had the Army of Alsace cross the river, boot these guys out, barely, and rescue the 12th Corps, which everybody came back across the river. Same thing down here. I don't remember which corps these were, 6th and 7th Corps probably. The guys that took Freiburg, they crossed back here at the pontoon bridge. What I will probably end up doing now is starting to rail move guys to the west and try and link up again with the Army of the Rhine, because as you can see, this is a chasm of distance between the two armies. So, and you know, the Prussian armies are here, yes, but I've got the whole Prussian Third Army, which is also massive. They can just swing down and take on the Army of Alsace easily just by itself, or drive more of a wedge in between the two. So anyway, that's where we're at turn 3. Still a ton of command. I mean, I had 20 primary command points to spend, and I'm still in the teens on those. So this is going to be much a longer turn, unless we get another tie-dye roll that ends it early. At this point, I think the French are kind of hoping for that. Maybe even the Prussians too, because they want to get these sieges underway. So we'll see what happens.